We're back and we have news. No sooner had the people of Watertown, Mass. Been told it's okay to come out, a barrage of gunshots has just been heard there. NBC's Kerry Sanders is standing by. Kerry, what did you hear and what's happening?
Well, Brian, as you can see over my shoulder, it's just one car after the other. They're all heading down that direction. We heard a barrage of gunfire down in that direction. We kind of went down for a little bit. The officers have been steadily heading that direction. It's possible, remember, there is still a suspect on the loose here. It's possible that that suspect is still in Watertown and that they have found him down in this direction. I'm not sure, but that's what would be the logical conclusion as we see officers all streaming in one direction down there, Brian.
All right, Kerry, even though they're on a hair trigger, it takes a lot for law enforcement to discharge a weapon. So obviously they thought they had something, and we just panned left, and I'm seeing the armored vehicles arrive now.
Yes, indeed. You see them, and this is what we saw really hours ago, and now they're back snaking into a different direction. So it's been like this, but really it seemed like everything was now back to sort of routine or calm. In fact, residents were being allowed out of their homes. I saw cars coming out of here after they're being basically holed up in their homes all day as if they were prisoners in their own home. And so now we see this. We're going to have to get some more details as it unfolds. Brian.
All right, Kerry, thanks. So we're back to covering a breaking news situation. For some of our stations, you'll be breaking away. Others are staying with us for an hour-long edition tonight. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Terror in Boston. This is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
We are back. If you're with us, your station has joined us for the second half hour, a special hour-long nightly news tonight, and those are live pictures for the second time in well under 24 hours. Gunfire has been heard in Watertown, Mass., the scene of the original shootout last night that revealed both suspects from the marathon bombing. One died in the gunfire last night. One's been on the loose. It's been under lockdown all day. 1 million people, including children home from school, businesses shut down. At 6 o'clock Eastern time, public officials came out and said, in effect, it's safe to come out. They had reason to believe it was safe to come out. And then at just prior to 6:30 Eastern time, a few minutes ago, Kerry Sanders among them, several journalists and onlookers heard a barrage of gunfire in Watertown, Mass., easily the most heavily defended and secured American town tonight. Let's go back to Kerry Sanders, who's been up all night covering gunfire in Watertown, Mass. Kerry, what else?
Well, Brian, after that gunfire, it's been just a steady stream of officers all heading generally in that direction. Some of them coming up here, also cutting down another side. Remember, there is a suspect that somehow was able to elude the police here. That is the second suspect. And it's possible that he, because he was on foot, it's believed, is somewhere still in Watertown. Now, the authorities spent all day combing through 20 streets here, and they were even going indoor homes, checking inside houses, and finally they had lifted that order for people to remain in their homes. They were just coming out. Some of them were driving out here with smiles on their faces, and now all of a sudden this. I'm going to step out of the way because we have some of the folks here from the military that are pulling out as well. So the barrage of gunfire down in that general direction. It's west here in Watertown, and I wish I could tell you I understood more about what it is, but clearly the police are responding to the gunfire.
Well, Kerry, while you speak, the video we're looking at is actually helpful. It's a long shot down the road, but I just watched a paramedic come and get his treatment bag out of the Watertown Fire Department ambulance. The Boston PD communications truck, the assault vehicle, is reorganizing itself in the driveway. It appears to be a large front lawn, could be a public facility, school, library where they've arrived. Obviously, as we said just a few minutes ago, it takes a lot for a law enforcement officer to discharge their weapon. Most of them retire after a life service, never having fired a shot. Obviously, things are on a hair trigger. Obviously, they have the most sought-after man in the country within a manageable distance of Watertown, Mass. So we might learn all we can learn by watching the vehicles and the personnel. We have a mix of federal and state agencies. You see DEA in the foreground, Drug Enforcement Administration, you have alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, Homeland Security, FBI, Massachusetts State Police. Every locality, it's estimated they have 9,000 law enforcement personnel tonight in the Bay State of Massachusetts. This is back Kerry's main camera location. Looks like every Crown Victoria ever made. All of the police cars in the state of Massachusetts are there tonight. Kerry, you and I were saying on live coverage today, if you know Watertown, it's a lot of duplexes, a lot of multifamily dwellings, the kind of houses where every front porch has that lattice work underneath with a crawl space. Every house has a shed out back and the place where you put the trash bins. It is densely packed, but still suburbia, and a ton of places for somebody to hide.
And of course, that's what the officers have spent the better part of the day doing, going in through. In fact, they started overnight in the darkness and then sweeping through streets, then through backyards, and then going through the hedges and the rose bushes and looking through just about every piece of foliage. And then, as you say, under overturned canoes in people's backyards, any place somebody could hide. And so the authorities have been spending the better part of the day working primarily up in this area. And now we're seeing them move over in this direction where the gunshots came from. And it was quite a barrage of gunfire. It's believed that because the first suspect had an IED on him, that the second suspect is just as dangerous. And so the authorities have maintained all day that the reason they had people inside their homes is because they feared that this second suspect may try to trigger some sort of device. So as they're approaching whatever it is going on down in this direction now, they're also approaching with caution that it may not simply be somebody who is armed, but somebody who is wired to do maximum damage to whoever approaches.
As more SUVs come in, lights blazing, well done on replacement of the camera. If we go all the way in, that may give us a better idea of what's going on in there. The Boston PD vehicle is rebasing again. Again, you've got a lot of feds up there, a lot of Homeland Security types. To our viewers, just a heads up, in a moment here, we're going to have to pause to bring in the rest of the country. Still afternoon, of course, on the West Coast. The station's not already joining us for this second half hour of NBC Nightly News, but this clearly has us back into live special events coverage from Watertown, Massachusetts. Those just tuning in again, and we'll say this again momentarily, we've had gunfire again after a gun battle in the streets there last night. So just momentarily, we'll pause here, roll the special report animation, welcome in the rest of the NBC network.
This is an NBC News Special Report. Here's Brian Williams.
We welcome our viewers who are just joining us at 7:07 p.m. on the East Coast. 1 hour ago, public safety officials, starting with the governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick, the police chief in Watertown, Mass., the mayor of Boston, said to the million or so people who have been under orders to stay indoors all day that in their view, because of information they had regarding the investigation, it was okay to come out, while no one expected the population to come streaming out of their homes. The ban was lifted, and no more than 30 minutes after that announcement came first reports gunfire again in Watertown, Massachusetts, the scene of the shootout last night that was fatal to the older brother, one of the two suspects. It's the younger brother who has been on the loose all day and is considered very simply the most wanted, most sought-after man in the nation tonight. NBC's Kerry Sanders moved to Watertown in the middle of the night following the initial crime at MIT, the murder of a police officer, the shootout, the explosions of bombs in the streets. Kerry is back on the street corner in Watertown as every police vehicle in the state arrives there all over again. Kerry?
Well, let me reset the scene for you. We were standing here. People were streaming out of the neighborhood. It was the first time they'd had an opportunity to leave their neighborhood after being told to shelter in place. And as we were standing here, cars were coming out. Actually, some of the residents with smiles on their faces. Just off there in the distance, we heard a barrage of gunfire. That was followed by a steady stream of police cars, first heading down here on Arsenal, then coming up here and also working their way around the backside, making their way down there. It looks like it's about 2.5 blocks down the street here. They are looking for a suspect. It's a suspect who they believe for most of the day, evening into the day, was up here hiding in a neighborhood, possibly hiding in the backyard, in a shed, in the bushes. They went through the neighborhood very methodically, 20 streets, sometimes going inside people's homes, looking inside their homes, other times looking in and around their homes, but consistently looking for this suspect. And finally, they had lifted that order telling people to be in their homes. And then, boom, what we saw happen down here. And we're watching this unfold right now. As you point out, officers do not pull their guns and fire unless they have a reason to. Many officers spend an